right. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining today. We're going to be talking about the Paul Verhoeven 1997 book or movie based on the book, Starship Troopers. And I have a whole group of folks here. Everyone, feel free to introduce yourself, say anything you want, and then we can hop in.
I guess I'll start out. I'm Marte, Marxist-Leninist. Just excited here to be here and do this breakdown with a few Marxists.
Thanks for joining.
Libby, you go. I'm nervous.
Yeah, but I'm equally nervous. I want to go last. Okay, I'm Libby. You might see me as Lefty Libby, and I'm just going to be ridiculous the whole time. That's my plan.
That's a good plan.
Good content.
I'm Oh Hey on TikTok. I'm Knockout on Discord. I'm not going to give away my Telegram numbers or anything like that. But yeah, second time. Very excited.
Well, welcome back. Yeah, so I've been wanting to do this movie for a while. I did RoboCop as an early one, and Paul Verhoeven is doesn't make really any bad movies, and I feel like this maybe it isn't his best. I love RoboCop, but I don't know if anyone has any first impressions from watching this. It's kind of slightly dated. It's 25 years since it's been out, but I feel like the message is not lost today.
Mm. Yeah, I think the first impression I had, that was my first Paul movie I've ever seen. Verhoeven. He's honestly, at first, I don't know, folks are saying that it was pro-militarism and or pro-fascism, and I went to go watch it, and I just saw that it was just a spoof, the propaganda scenes and how they even show a child getting ready to fight in war. It was just a spoof, and I feel like it was just to make fun of them a little bit, and I kind of laughed at a few scenes, not gonna lie.
There was a scene, one of the first things I took a note on was when they were explaining about how they send a asteroid with the bugs on it or whatever. It felt just like when they were explaining to Congress about weapons of mass destruction and them being in the back of tractor trailers in the desert, that's where they're hiding them, is in these tractor trailers. And they have really bad graphics that they were showing to Congress. That's all that I saw. That whole and that didn't even happen yet, but that was in the movie.
Yeah, that's funny.
They have a playbook.
Yeah, they'll use that playbook for whatever their justification for whatever military action they want to do.
Yeah, I could still see Colin Powell's face, as he's flipping through, making the presentation of those tractor trailers. To just come up with ridiculous shit to be yeah, that's totally believable, and we should do all these crazy things.
Yeah, well, and the opening of the movie too is just in your face. This is military propaganda. There's children. There's you got to serve. I don't know. It's Paul Verhoeven always goes to this. That's his move. Using the reels of TV, which reminds me of just any propaganda reel you can think of.
Him and Neumeier, I always want to say Niedermeyer, watch their primary inspirations for those were Why We Fight and then the famous German propaganda film. I don't remember the fucking name. I don't really care, but there's two major influential propaganda films that came out during World War II that pretty much all of those were based off of all the iconography and stuff like that. And I know Verhoeven directed military recruiting commercials, not for the U.S. but for I think somewhere in Europe,
Netherlands, I believe, because that's where he was born.
That's it.
Yeah, and you were saying before he grew up in occupied.
Yeah, he was. He grew up in Nazi occupation, so he lived through that, and I think he was pretty forward with his anti-fascist message on it. And usually, I think I understand why it goes over some folks' heads, because I feel like there's a few plot points that get in the way of the message, like the love triangles, for example. They could have avoided the like for the first half of the movie. They could have avoided the love triangles and probably expanded more on maybe the citizen versus civilian relationships, or how the bugs even sent the asteroid or their hierarchy, right? But I think that took away a lot from the film for sure.
I don't know. In the love triangle, when like the whole movie, right? It's supposed to be, I don't know. The most unrealistic part of this movie was when he sent her a gif, like he made a little gif of them kissing. No way, that would have been a dick coming, and there's no way it was like a sweet, gentle thing. No way.
Well, maybe the bubble popping was a metaphor.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just no way it wouldn't have been a dick.
Yeah, what was I gonna say about the yeah, I feel like the part of the book too is they focus a lot on the teacher who's played by, I can't think of his name, like Rasik or whatever his name is in the movie. You know, I feel like it's kind of a good like. It would have been cool if they gave more history on what that society, like what got them there, because you don't really get that in the movie.
Like that's the thing that I have a theory on, right? I'm gonna spit it out right now. So he says, like, because he's explaining like how, you know, like violence is the baseline of all force or whatever, and like politics is force used against somebody. So the society, he mentions that like when the veterans took control, right? And then they instituted military fascism, and that's like the society that we have at that point. The main capital city in that fucking show is Buenos Aires, and everything about their military is fucking straight up Nazi iconography. I think that's my theory, is that it's like a fucking resurgence of Nazism that happened, and like this is like the far future beyond like straight up Nazism, and now it's like the somewhat fascist utopia that they all dream.
But can we talk about how they're from Buenos Aires and they're all fucking very white? Like nobody even said "sí." Like nobody. There was no Spanish to everybody. It was like the richest high school. The kids, like, there's no way that Johnny's parents had a house with a view like that in Buenos Aires with such a population. I don't know. And the gift wasn't a dick. Okay.
Yeah. They were all like super blonde, super, you know, and like you're right though. Like they all were very rich, and it's funny because in this society, being rich does not make you like his parents presumably can't vote, yet they have this like massive mansion.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's kind of a funny. I don't know, it's funny, but I guess that's how they would weed out the people in your version of them being like, oh, this is Nazi resurgence. It makes sense.
All I could see was the ableism and being a civilian versus citizen or whatever. It's like only if you are physically able, mentally able to be in their military are you able to be a real citizen.
Yeah.
Well, in the book, that's crazy because they like in the book, Rico was actually he was Hispanic, he had brown skin, and he had brown hair. And in real life, I think Verhoeven did that because I think maybe like in person, a lot of Nazis escaped to Argentina, and there is a vast community out there. Like they have German celebrations. They wear like the German attire and all that, and they take pride in that heritage. And I think it's off, but I don't think it's a coincidence. Maybe it's just a callback to that. And
that just further underline O'Hay's theory of like the Nazi resurgence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That I think it's hard to. That's not at all. I mean, that's not mentioned in the book. They just kind of like gloss over it. But like the author Heinlein was like basically I wouldn't say he was a fascist, but you could call him maybe a sympathizer of that kind of military thing. So I think it's pretty funny in a way though that he took this book and turned it into like a spoof of this, and then everyone who watched this when it came out was like, "Oh, we don't get it." It's like it's so obvious.
I think Verhoeven was the perfect person to make this film because I think if
100%.
anybody else have did it, they might have made it too pro-fasci in a way, and like they might have even been like have people be like, "Oh, this is kind of cool," but no, he did add that sploof level to it, and you could tell, especially with the propaganda scenes. Some of them are pretty funny.
I put those people on the same line as like people who watched American History X, and like the thing they loved most about that movie was the curb stomping scene.
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, yeah, you're a piece of shit. And anybody that's like, oh yeah, I fucking love that movie, like shooting bugs and stuff. Like,
and like they don't understand that movie because it's just like it's like at the end he ends up
level. Surface
yeah,
level.
yeah.
What I didn't understand about it is how I don't know, maybe nobody else noticed this, but everything is very futuristic. Like they have all this technology, but scoreboard technology changed none whatsoever. What the fuck?
The fucking like large
yeah,
LED
it's the dots. Yeah.
It's like a digital. They had to.
No, it was not. That was analog.
I'm surprised it's not like they don't have like a guy up there like changing the numbers. He's like, hold on. Yeah, they're like passing around guns like that are like massive to like kids to take a look at them, and they like have to use these scoreboards.
And they let them take bullets home.
Well, I guess that's where they're spending all their money, right? Like they have to spend it on military. They don't need scoreboards. But one thing that was making me think about, so they talk about how like the bugs, they don't talk about them that much, but in the scene like where they're dissecting them towards the beginning of it, they talk about how they have like millions of years evolution, and like you learn little bits throughout the movie about them, and they talk about how like they're stupid and they don't have like they're not strong fighters, but then they realize that they actually are smarter than they anticipated. I don't know what anyone makes of just how they identify. I mean, obviously, like talking about them as bugs, it's like they're just things they can destroy, they can crush. I
mean, I bet it equates to the same thing that like people would justify slavery and saying like, oh well, their brains aren't the same as our brains, and I bet that equates the same way as
it's like similar to race
maybe
science.
You could definitely draw a parallel anyway.
Yeah.
So, well, did you say race science?
Yeah, you could do like
sure. That makes. I mean, that's another thing too. Is and then the only way that they can explain it, like later in the movie, is like, oh, there's like the one smart bug that can, like is controlling everything. So they create a hierarchy for them because they have to have one because there is one back in.
I wish they would have expanded more on the hierarchy and how they even managed to send asteroids in the first place. Because they're little bugs and they don't seem like they have the technology to even send them flying. Like maybe like they were looking for a reason to like wipe out the bugs, and like they used the attack on in Argentina as an excuse to go full out,
Well, what about this? What about that was actually a false flag? And the U.S. and the military in America, or not America, or whatever, destroyed their own city so they could use it as their.
Yeah, that's okay. That makes more sense because like I mean it's like
how did they have that tech?
Right, and then when you take a look at these bugs and you're just like, how they don't do like they.
Well, how did it get there so quickly? Right, it's really far away. They have to use like interstellar travel. How did that like?
Yeah, they're like on the other side of the galaxy.
I don't know. Talking about the classroom scene, I want to point out first. I didn't find this out until I read the IMDb. The woman who's giving the anatomy class is fucking Blanche Devereaux from Golden Girls.
I knew I recognized her from somewhere, and I am glad that you thought that or like explained that because it has been bothering me this whole time, and I didn't think to look at IMDb. Thank you very much.
R.I.P. Billy White.
But that entire scene draws the kind of like 1-for-1 comparison of the enemy versus like us. How they're essentially us. Like the soldier bug is dumb. It doesn't feel fear. It has no fear of death. And she uses the words like it's the perfect member of a selfless society to them. Like that's the kind of, because their school is like straight up propaganda. Like every scene in that fucking school is like straight up like mindless, like fascist propaganda, all of it. And so that scene in particular kind of draws that parallel, because there's every bit of parallel in like the hierarchies, like all the way up, because like the brain bug is like the mirror image of like Doogie Howser, like he's the fucking brain bug of the humans in a Wehrmacht uniform.
Yeah. Well, and also I like to point out, like, so humans are just randomly now have like psychic abilities.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh,
No,
we've
just
evolved.
Like the guy from How I Met Your Mom, I forget his name. How I Met Your Mother. I forget his name.
Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah.
Neil Patrick Harris. He was like in a full-on Gustavo
You just showed your
uniform.
age.
Yeah. Straight up.
I was just trying to like do a screen share on this. I can't figure out how to do it. But yeah, like there's the scene where he meets like this brain bug, and he's wearing like the long coat like they would wear. He's got the little military
straight
thingies
up
on his
SS.
shoulder. It's like, come on.
3 SS bolts. I think it's 3 bolts, but like I think it's 2 also. But there's definitely the SS bolts on their pouch.
Yeah, a bunch of them had it like on the silver, like it was just barely not SS, like, but like, yeah, the whole time just walking around with it.
I don't know what bothered me about his character is when he put his hand in front of their mouths when they were about to kiss. That was so uncomfortable. What? And then he got like so close to, like, I think it was like Dez's face, that it was like it made me like physically have a response of cringe. Like I couldn't handle it, and I didn't notice any of like his coat stuff. I was just like, why did he put his hand in their face?
Yeah, that's like the first thing I noticed. I was watching it with my sister at the time, and he walks in with that full-on trench coat. I'm like, is that really a Gustavo fucking uniform? And sure enough,
I don't know, because that was the time of like the trench coat mafia, is like when that stuff came out.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. That's true.
They also have like the flags with like the eagle on there. It's like pretty, pretty
the green
subtle
flag, and like they have like the the symbology is straight up fash. It's like eco fash. Like, have you seen their logos? It's similar to that.
Yeah, I found some site before that was like comparing like some of the like different logos, and it's pretty clear in there. But the what was I going to say? Yeah, I feel like all my notes are like, oh, that's some Nazi shit. That's some Nazi shit. That's some Nazi shit. But I was going to say, this is a crazy thing. Is one of those like commercials they had. They talk about how they like arrested some dude for murder, and then they like tried him for his murder that same day, and then they executed him live on television.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and that was also
right? Like,
Paul
what the
Verhoeven.
fuck?
And they're like, tune in tonight. Can't wait.
Yeah. It reminds me of the first thing I thought of was the like George Carlin has some bit where he's like talking about having public executions and shit. So he's like, oh, like is that a little? I know it's not a reference to George Carlin, but maybe think of it.
That reminds me of a scene where they were talking about Mormon extremists, and I'm like, that's crazy.
Did you when the Mormons, like, were they going there to like try to proselytize these like bugs? And then got ate about it. Oh, yeah. I was real happy for the bugs at that point. So I was very team bug.
That's why I buy into the false flag theory about the meteor that hit Buenos Aires, because that's the first in the movie. That's the first time that like bugs eat people, but it doesn't happen on camera, and it elicits like almost no reaction from the public because people don't fucking care about Mormons. So like, and so they're like, no, we need a better one. It was like, I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
It was like how like first they hit the embassies in Africa, and they're like, well, those weren't good false flags, so then they had to do a 9/11 about it to get us over there in Iraq and Afghanistan. See, I told you I'd have a 9/11.
Well, so it's funny.
They had to hit rich white people, is what they had to do.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you don't do that.
So Smirk Gently, who was going to be on, but she couldn't join tonight. She her 9/11 joke was that the Buenos Aires hit was the 9/11 too. So you had a similar joke going there.
They knew it was coming.
Well, the thing too about the
media program.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the Mormon thing that they don't really explain, and I was reading some theories, is that they say one theory I read said that they weren't there to like make them, religious, it was because they were being persecuted, in Buenos Aires or wherever they were living, and so they kind of escaped there to the neutral zone, and then they used that as like one of their original excuses. But no one actually cared that Mormons died, right? Is that what you're saying, basically?
But is that what Mormons do? Is that what they do? I don't think so. They're not. They're not escaping persecution. They're the ones doing the proselytizing.
Okay. That's
and
fair.
usually getting clapped up by the natives in the process.
Well, but no one even cared. That wasn't their. Yeah, I don't know. They kind of like hit on that message, or he threw that imagery in there, but I guess it's just the idea that whatever society we find in Interstellar, we're going to
maybe they were the Puritans trying to find a new world.
Yeah,
they're trying to. Well, I think. Well, don't Mormons believe that we're already living on heaven, like heaven's on earth right now, and that once Jesus returns, and he'll send everybody to down into hell or something like that.
They believe that Salt Lake City is the new Zion,
and that you get.
I'm a former Mormon. I can attest to this. I'm an authority in this area. So
you're a victim.
I wonder if they packed their like weird white underwear to bring to. Like,
I never encountered that the entire time I was in the church, but like there was a lot of like shit about food storage and stuff, which is like generally a good idea. But their whole basis is like, hey guys, this rapture thing's happening any day now, so you might not go up. So
it happened on the bug planet. Yeah. They were raptured.
Well, so have anyone seen the show on Amazon, The Expanse? I don't know if anyone's seen that.
No,
but one of the points of that show, and without doesn't ruin anything for it, there's like a group of Mormons that build like a gigantic spacecraft so that they can basically go off until like they're all going to die, but they're continuing to build their Mormon society to like basically go off in the galaxy and do it. So that doesn't seem that far off from this, right? I mean,
I wonder why they chose Mormonism though. Like why that one? Like out of all the things that they could have chosen to be the ones like out trying to either be neutral, proselytize, colonize, whatever. Why Mormons? Why was it that one? And like they couldn't come up with a new kind of like weirdo, extremist religion to do. Yeah, Like why did they choose Mormonism? Like.
Well, did Scientology exist in the mid-90s? I don't know when that
I think it was created in the 90s.
Okay.
I don't know.
Or the 80s. I forget.
This was 97. They were well established. That was like when Tom Cruise was doing the Tom Cruise things.
Yeah.
Acting crazy on was it Oprah show? The Oprah show?
Yeah.
The other part. So this is, I guess, now they've like been recruited and they're off, like they're all getting sent off to their different, like, depending on how smart you were, Denise Richards gets to be a pilot, and what's his name? Neil Patrick Harris is like the brain guy, and the other ones all go into the infantry. And like the whole like focus on the basic training, I thought was they had a lot there, and I don't know. I guess it was like them preparing. I guess they do that in like Forrest Gump and a lot of movies. They're going to show them in that basic training. I don't know, like that whole entire thing was pretty bonkers.
You know what I could not get over? How many times they said we're never going to see each other. For how many times they saw each other over and over and over. For them to have the same scene, we're never going to see each other again. We're never going to see each other again. I think it was at least 3 times that they ran through that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start like at some point too, which is funny. Well, this is just like a thing I noticed. Like when they're sending messages to each other where they're actually talking, they would not be able to talk to like his dad back in Buenos Aires live. Like he's like thousands of miles away. Like that shit's like way off. So,
well, his dad
still deliver like a mini disc about it.
Yeah, the little mini disc. That's right.
Rico's dad's. He said something pretty base. Let me pull it out. He said that he's like, there should be a law against using the school as a recruiting station. And I thought that was base. And that correlates a lot with today. I mean,
I wrote that down.
Yeah, they use like video games. They'll go to high schools and try recruiting people straight out of like poor kids.
They're
straight out of high school.
Like, now. Yeah, and like the recruiter guy with like the no leggies and like his and like the like metal hand. He literally said like fresh meat for the grinder. Like it was like So he said it out loud to them, to their face, and they're like, "Yes, sir."
Yeah, they like
Can't
encourage them
wait.
to die.
I think he called it like, I think it's like, oh, so I saw something they call it's like the example of like the poor bloody infantry, just you're out there front line, you're just going to get slaughtered.
So when
Yeah,
I was
what?
in, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's fine.
So when I was in one station unit training in the infantry, I forget which school it was, but we went to a different range, and like they were like, if you guys want to complain about your leg hurting, then Sergeant so and so, show them how your leg hurts. And like he lifts up his pants and he's got a fake fucking leg, and like that was the moment that I was like, oh goddamn, that was my real life Starship Troopers moment. Some guy showing off his fucking aluminum leg, and I was like, God damn it, I shouldn't have done this. This is a stupid idea.
Mistakes
and I
have
guess
been
they already
made.
had done it. It was too late for them. Like they're off. Like he's denounced his family money or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine? When Denise Richards, what was her name in the movie? I don't even remember. I just remember Denise Richards. But when she sits in the captain's chair, Carmen, yes, she sits in the captain's chair, and she's like all proud of herself. And it's like, don't you see how much of a quick turnover that was for you to be like 3 months later, you're the captain of the ship? And like seemingly so proud, and like they each like got into their like high-ranking positions like so fast that none of them stopped to think, well, wait a second, I'm gonna die like on Thursday.
Yeah. Right, like in the infantry, they were basically going through like what was the name of they called the person who was sort of the group leader? Was that what it was? No, they went through like 4 of them. Platoon leader, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. That's when their teacher went. The teacher was their leader, the one when they were in high school.
They called him lieutenant.
Yeah, lieutenant.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, you're right. Like they're cycling through people. I mean, in one of the propaganda films, after they attack the bugs later, they say 100,000 dead. Like, and it's basically like in an instant, they're just like gone.
Yeah, they had to go to a high school to get a lieutenant. Like that's why. A high school teacher. Yep, come right along.
and Rico, he takes over his teacher's position right after, and has the same. I forget what he says. The professor before they go and like fight. I think he says. I think if you don't fight, then I'll kill you myself.
Yeah.
And then Rico starts saying that as soon as he takes control, and it's just kind of like, since high school, he was indoctrinated by his own teacher. Yeah. To fight and go die. I mean, they encourage people to die. Like there was that one scene where they were like, "Do you want to? Do you want to live long, or do you want to live longer?" Or he was mentioning how like they should go out there and just die quick.
One thing that stuck out to me, and as I think about it now, is she was like, "I want to get a license to have a baby." Then how was Johnny Rico's parents? How did they have him without them being like a citizen?
And I think they mentioned that like military is the fastest lane to citizenship. I don't think
Okay.
I'm sure if you're rich, you can be a fucking citizen,
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I mean, obviously, money will buy you whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think his parents were actually citizens. They just didn't go the military route. Or I don't know. I can't remember that part.
The dad seemed anti-military, so then maybe not.
Because he was a Harvard guy, so he's trying to get. I remember he's trying to get Rico to go to fucking Harvard. So you're going to Harvard and it's settled.
I wonder though, Carmen and Johnny's babies, like they're like, no wonder they had to go into the military to be separate. Because if they had a baby, the jawline on that baby, they would have to come up with like a new cheddar cheese for how sharp that jawline would have been.
No.
Well, the other like wildly fucked up thing in the basic training, aside from like his buddy getting like shot because he takes off his helmet, they just like corporal punish him like right in front of everyone. Like that was a pretty
10 lashes, right?
Yeah, like that did not look fun.
Very fashy.
Yeah, and like he was proud to take it.
They were immediately bleedy too. I was not okay with how bloody that was so fast. No way.
I like how like they just like one recruit, like he's like, "Oh yeah, attack me," and the guy attacks him and he breaks his fucking arm. Like, and the next guy, and Gary Busey's son fucking gets a knife, or is Gary Busey the son? Wait,
Yeah.
Is that the
Ace.
blonde?
Busey the son gets a knife in his hand during the thing. But then you find out later that they have like Bacta tanks and they can like regenerate in 3 days. So not as high stakes as it looked.
Star Wars-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have that technology, but yeah, they still have those analog scoreboards.
And a tablet was still this big and this thick on the table.
Yeah,
it was curved like a screen.
yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so after like so I think that like it's right after he gets his lashes, he's like gonna quit, and then Buenos Aires is destroyed, and they're like in the, well, I'm calling it a false flag. I mean, I guess I could have actually attacked them, but I think I was telling this to Morte before we jumped on. It's the same with like any military expansion is they have all this shit, all these guns, all these soldiers. They need something to fight. Like otherwise, what's the point of all of it? They got to keep that ball rolling. So it makes sense that they would antagonize them to the point of military conflict.
Well, the military keeps the money coming in, or the war keeps the money coming in. So like they're probably finding any reasons to take over any planet in that galaxy. I mean, they already conquered a good amount of the galaxy, all the way to the bugs, right? They're just.
I'm sorry. I was gonna change gears so you can finish your thought.
Oh, no, it's all right. I kind of forgot about it.
Okay, so I did like how when they changed, they're like, yeah, we made a big mistake sending them there, and then they found like a black lady to take over the white guy who was like in charge. I did like how that happened. I was happy about that.
That's a bit too progressive for a fascist movie.
Yeah, they're like, oh, maybe we need I don't know.
They needed to clean up the edges a little bit.
Well, that whole the scene of them like bringing the person out into this like giant military room was also pretty much like, I don't know how they're all like in their like fascist uniforms. The only thing that was missing was like literally like saluting the dude.
Yeah, doing like the Sag Hell salute or some shit. I'm surprised they didn't add like a salute like that into the movie, but I think it would have been too controversial for sure.
Yeah. But the first dude who I think was the leader, he was just saying like he got tanked because he killed everyone or he got everyone killed, is his like fiery speech is like, like we need to basically take over not the planet. He says like the galaxy, or maybe he doesn't say galaxy. I don't know what term he used, but basically like, we need to, the bugs can't exist. Like we are the better species. And like, that's also some,
Yeah, it's like when he says the only good bug is a dead bug.
Yeah, and then they have like kids stomping on bugs like on the street too.
Yeah, cockroaches. Yeah,
it's like it's just a cockroach.
Yeah,
it's not the same one. It's not his son.
That reminds me of during his speech when he was talking to him in class. He says, "Violence is the supreme authority that solves everything," and like I think they're like super pro violence. They don't want to be democratic about anything. They're just want to conquer, and like I think that's like super fashy. It plays a role in a lot of the kids, or like they don't seem like kids. They're a bit old to be high school teenagers, but
yeah, they were definitely at least pushing 30. Like there's no way they're like going to the prom.
That's the hallmark of the 90s right there.
Yeah. Like they'd have like every high school like flick had like adults playing. They even had like in Spider-Man, adult playing teenage guy.
Yeah, Denise Richards was 26 when she did this movie. Well, and it's like the movie Hackers, which I did earlier. What's her name?
Love Hackers.
Angelina Jolie. She's like almost 30. Like she's like 27, 28. She's playing a 17-year-old high school kid. It's like,
to be fair, Angelina Jolie is a fucking vampire.
Hmm.
Like she will never age.
Hey, it might be all that adrenochrome. I'm just kidding.
Yep.
We are talking about Hollywood.
We're dropping Q references.
Yeah. The and then the scene like right after the I guess that's when they've like now declared war. They've changed their. I don't know if it's before or after they have their first initial attack. There's like a reporter on the ship, and he's like they've had him a couple times, and he says some say the bugs were provoked by the humans, and so it's for going into their habitat, and it's like no, let's just kill them all. So like they know that they're. It's like this. What is this guy like MSNBC getting on there, being like, actually, this war isn't so bad. Isn't so good. I don't know.
That DeFranco guy from TikTok.
It was those fucking Mormons that was they started this all.
Yeah, all because you had to spread your Mormonism everywhere.
Yeah.
And actually,
so was the scene where like Johnny gets in trouble because he let the Hodor guy get shot in the head? He like that was Hank Schroeder, right? He comes in.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say ACAB includes Hank Schroeder.
God damn it!
So we're
right.
all on the same page.
That scene still hit hard from Breaking Bad, though. But yeah.
What is that? I can't think of that guy's actual name.
Yeah, but he's Hodor in my head.
What's so funny though is that in the I think they don't actually give him a name. He's just like commanding officer according to IMDb.
You guys are talking about Hank from Breaking Bad, right?
Oh yeah, no, okay, I know who you're talking about. I thought you were talking about whatever the big guy's name was. He's just Hodor
I think I was confusing who you were talking about.
Yeah, no, but Hank Schroeder, who he was like had to be in trouble with, he's just Hank Schroeder.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I going to say? I was just thinking about, there's one thing that I thought I mentioned because I know that multiple people here have tattoos. Did you notice that they have like an auto tattoo machine?
Yeah.
I see. And I'm like, and I was talking with someone recently, like, that's the one thing that they'll never automate. And like, of course, these fucking people did it.
They automated it. God damn it.
They're getting like the laser
I'm
tattoo.
literally a tattoo artist. And yeah.
It's like, no, they've stolen your job from you.
No, but I did see like that people are doing that like blackout tattoo and then that laser machine thing to like, I don't like it, like puts a design on the tattoo, but I've never seen a healed whatever that is going to do to the skin.
Oh, so there is something like that.
There's something like that. You got to do like a blackout tattoo, and then they have like a digitized laser machine that only like will like it won't do it on like regular skin.
It's like a tattoo removal over the black ink.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I've not seen the end of it, but
that's interesting.
I went ahead and ignored it because.
I'm sorry.
No, I said I just went ahead and ignored it because I need to be a tattoo artist.
I've seen the one that looks like a 3D printer, like cage that goes over the leg or whatever you're trying to tattoo. I don't know how effective it is. I imagine not very much.
But so they move at all. They're gonna move.
Robots are gonna take your fucking job. You need to accept that.
All right.
Well, I mean, if we have socialism, then that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I feel like the second. I mean, maybe it's like more like the third act of the movie. Like after they start like going to war, there's like just constantly, like they didn't prepare any of them for any of the actual fighting, and it's also funny too. Like it takes them tons of shots to take down these bugs, and like at some points there's like thousands of them, and somehow they're succeeding. It was like kind of like, what the fuck?
My favorite part was when Johnny like gets the bomb in the like bug by accident, exactly the way that in Coneheads he narbles the Garthog by like getting the fucking golf ball into the throat. It was perfect.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, they needed like the scoreboard next to like the bug to be like 1-0.
The analog scoreboard.
No, the bugs got digital ones.
They're smarter.
Yeah, and like that's the thing too. It was like sort of proven that the humans were not as technologically advanced as just they had no weapons other than like shooting fire out of their ass and stuff. Right? Like that's what they were doing, right? Like he was just shooting fire.
Right. Yeah. No, but like it was like acid, like butt juice from the bugs. But then when they get the bug juice on them, it's fine. only when it comes out the butt is it Bernie to them. And I
That
feel
is
like
true.
it should have been like acid all around, because only it coming out of the butt of the fucking bug makes it be acid. I don't
Yeah,
know.
why wouldn't
They
it when
also
it
had
exploded, right? It didn't do anything.
they also
Yeah.
had stratospheric anti-aircraft weaponry though.
Mm.
They had those ones that would aim their asses up at the sky and shoot the laser
That purple
laser
stuff.
ass
Yeah.
shit. And it was like taking out starships and whatnot.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of when damn it, I had it right here. Oh yeah, the infantry, they had like mini nukes. It was just normalized, and they were just
Yeah.
shooting nukes at like bugs and shit. That was pretty crazy. I mean, like just have like it reminds me of Fallout. I'm not sure if anybody plays that here, but they had mini nukes in there,
Yeah.
and they just shoot it casually at bugs, which you think would be fatal to the soldiers, right? Shooting it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. If they had nukes that small, they could have just nuked the whole fucking planet, right?
Right.
Were they there for their resources? Is that what they didn't want to
Yeah,
destroy?
yeah, absolutely.
Imperialism.
They wanted some of that. They wanted some ass juice from the bug.
It's gotta have energetic properties, right? Like if it's like got
Like
that sort of
melty.
propulsion
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you can shoot an ass ball into space,
Well,
the energy behind that has to be enough to like drive a Tesla or something. There's
Well,
an Elon Musk in this universe.
well, they're probably eating
Going like
something that's on the
this.
planet, right? Like he's eating some kind of metal, some
Yeah.
lithium, and he's just like shooting it up there. Right. So that's what they were there for. It's like it's like Avatar, the
100%.
first Avatar. They're there just for like what are they? I don't know. They made up the name.
That
like the
tree of
person.
life or whatever.
Yeah, that was a 9/11, by the way. The tree in the Avatar. But I don't know.
Everything circles back to 9/11
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Mormons.
It's a 9/11 Ouroboros.
Yeah, and then the whole like Mormon like the base, and then that's like the part where it's very I mean it's like any kind of military movie. There's like thousands of bugs swarming like their little crappy ass military thing, and they're just shooting them down like with unlimited bullets, it seems like. I don't know.
Like they just
a lot
spray
of
them
it is
down.
it's very in terms of like to keep pushing the fasci button, it's very echoes of colonialism. Like we see it in Avatar, and we see it in this one where like a high-tech colonizer shows up to attack the low-tech native, I guess in this case, native species, and they're fucking stunned by like how hard they get clapped on whenever they fucking show up.
Reminds me of like the Vietnam War, kind of, America going to Vietnam and getting whooped, by farmers.
Yep.
It's kind of like, I think maybe Verhoeven, used that as like inspiration in a way. I know definitely America's policies at the time he did, because he did mention it was about America, and like it was, and like even though it's super fashy, it does make sense because America's like fascist, in disguise. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, I was looking at the because you were talking about that scene earlier with Blanche from Golden Girls. So someone had a theory online that the arachnids were supposed to be an allegory for Bolshevism, like this.
What?
I didn't like. I'm not gonna read through it all now, but I don't know how they quite get that. That's kind of a leap.
Yeah, that's a reach for sure.
I mean, I guess the idea. I mean, part of it is it's saying that because if we're calling Buenos Aires as like the resurgence of Nazis, like the Fourth Reich or whatever you'd want to call it, veteran society, they probably would want to wreak revenge on Soviet Union. Like they were super overconfident when they went to war against USSR during World War II. I don't know. This might be a bit of a stretch here.
Yeah, like theory. I don't think that even Stretch Armstrong could stretch that far.
Like the main bug is just Vladimir Lenin.
I don't know. I just wanted to use that joke. I just wanted to use that joke right now.
Well, he's like, yeah, and then they the thing that's when they do like catch the smart bug, like he's holds his hand on him and he's like, oh, he's afraid. Like that was their I don't know. I just that was such a cheesy ass.
And then they play fanfare behind it whenever everybody's cheering and shit.
Yeah,
when they showed his face when they did like the brain sucky thing, I've definitely been able to make a man's face look like that. I'm just saying.
well, and they were like, we're torturing the bugs too, right? They like show them and shit. They're like
Yeah.
torturing the shit out of them.
Yeah, they were, and like they were like
yeah,
pro torture.
they're like torturing him. They have the bug all tied up and shit, and they're like, "Yeah, he's afraid." Oh no, fuck! Really? Do you think he would?
He's surrounded by people with like tactical nuclear weapons, like on their side on their body.
They cut off the sucky thing, and they have him like tied up and like guns at him, like, "Oh, he's afraid." Wow, you needed to be psychic to know that. Oh my god.
Well, that's the thing is like they talk about him being psychic, but I don't feel like any part of anything in the movie required him to be psychic. Like if it was his idea to go to war and all that,
he needed to be psychic to like get the ferret to like bug his mom.
And then another thing is the only like plot device that served was like whenever, because Johnny was like, "Hey, was it you that led us there, or blah blah, or was it you that led me to Carmen?" And he's like, "That's classified," and then he like walks off. So it can mean one of two things. Like, yes, he's psychic, and the only reason he's psychic is for that fucking scene, and then the scene to where he's like, he's afraid, or he's not at all fucking psychic, and it's a callback to the Nazi psyops where they're like, "Oh, our leaders are into the occult, and they get messages from beyond, and this means victory here, and blah blah blah." So it could go either way.
I was thinking about the same thing. It's like they were, I mean, and then you look at mind control and the brainwashing, MK Ultra, like all these shit they were doing.
So Doogie Howser gets to do an MK Ultra after this.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's given that giant bug like a vatful of LSD.
Just a handful. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's they don't like dive too much into the occult stuff or any of the other aspects of like the Nazi shit. So I guess that would make a good. I think I like that theory.
I think it definitely relates for sure, because I know they were like that's like the star seed in the 5D is a result of that whole occult and Nazi shit. It's pretty crazy how prevalent it's still prevalent today, and it's crazy, and like like a lot of people don't even know they're spewing that shit. Like they're spewing fascist rhetoric, and it's wild. They were like heavily into occult shit, and they were like, there was even some Nazis who were like Satanists. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, some of them still are. There was a recent breakup between like a Nazi group, like a prominent like Nazi fucking like post board or whatever, where like a bunch of them were Satanists and a bunch of them are like like trad Christian purists and shit. So it tore the whole fucking community apart, which is hilarious because I'll never not laugh at the rats sinking their own fucking ship. But like, I don't know. That was like hearing that there's Satanist Nazis. I'm like, what the hell?
And it seems like wild because like every Nazi you meet is like some super evangelical Christian, nationalist, and catching like a Satanist Nazis, it's like rare. It's like really rare. It's like honestly like catching someone who's openly like a Japanese fascist. I hardly see those online, but because they're mainly in love with Germany or like Italy. Let me put my camera upside down, give him a view. I'm just kidding. Of Mussolini.
Well, they I mean, not to mention that, but like I think a lot of those Japanese fascists, like they went to South Korea, and so a lot of them are now living in South Korea too.
Oh yeah,
a lot of them got shot in the fucking street with an electronic shotgun.
yeah. Shinzo Abe.
Bye.
Yeah. Well, they actively deny war crimes, so no remorse.
Yeah. The wow, there was some other like trivia note that I saw that was pretty funny, but I can't find it now. But it's funny, like so there are a bunch of sequels. We were briefly talking about it, and I'm curious if they like continue how the story continues in this movie, but like I don't know, like you could let's pretend you've never seen them, or if you have seen them, you can pretend you didn't. Like what's the continuation of this? They just take over the bugs, and then there's just like a different bug planet. I mean, I don't know how this can like.
Well, certainly they would all be dead in 3 days and would be replaced with a whole new cast almost immediately. That's definitely a thing that'll happen. That's
Well,
like
I think
step.
I was looking at like I was streaming it off them streaming site because I couldn't watch it on Prime, but I saw that there was the actor who plays Rico was in like 5 of them, or like the rest of the movies, at least in like the second and third one. I think he was a part of. And
Oh shit, my bad.
yeah, no, it's all right. Go ahead. I was just mentioning that.
So like one of the things that because people will glorify this movie for the wrong reasons, because it does really well at being like a super like action flick, right? Like just surface level, it's a good action flick, and it had really really good CGI for the time, which isn't part of my point. I just needed to point that out. But like but the thing that isn't like really acknowledged by those groups that romanticize it as an action film is that the end of the movie isn't really a fucking happy ending. Like Rico is just continuing the cycle. Karma is just continuing the cycle. Like they're all just continuing the cycle. Like Rico, like literally just becoming what's the teacher's name, Rathcheck or whatever, and it's just war forever and ever and ever. Because I think they mentioned like other bug planets too in that movie, or it could be. I know like in the further like extended universe of the fucking franchise or whatever, there are other bug planets, but I'm pretty sure they mention other ones on there. I might be mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's like that's kind of like his point of, you know, the perpetual state of military intervention. Like it's endless because as long as there's some species that we can take over,
it's just imperialism forever.
Yeah.
I wonder how the stage of capitalism looks in that world. Like you kind of get like some hints at it, but like I wonder how like it's affected it.
Well, they don't show
like you got to
poverty.
be rich to have babies.
Yeah, right. Eugenics, pretty much. Yeah. You have to have a high IQ to vote too, and you have to be a citizen. Don't you have to have an IQ? I'm pretty sure they mentioned that.
They mentioned voting, having kids requires a fucking license, and to be a politician, you have to be a citizen.
Wow.
Well, what's funny is so few people actually survive military service that like not many people are coming back and voting. And
like they all go and die. Yeah.
Right. And so the one thing that we didn't talk about, I think we did briefly before, is like the shower scene early on in camp. Yeah. And what's interesting about it is they basically all are like ragging on what's his name, Rico, for being like a rich dude who chose to join the military just for fun. All of them were like talking about like they had nothing. They're all poor kids, you know, like that was their way out. And so I think that this thing like Platoon, the same plot scheme. The rich dude joins.
I think it was just an excuse for us to see their butts and their boobs. Really.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I was okay with it.
No complaints at all.
I just saw a note that said that in one of the like fight scenes, they had to remove a part of like a decapitation of someone, so the movie didn't get an NC-17 rating. But if you watch it on FX, it's the full NC-17.
Oh wow!
Really?
I don't know what the scene is. I wish I had known that. I would have looked it up.
One thing I want to touch on is, you know how they had that channel that's like, hey, the national network or whatever it was called, that was just like their propaganda channel, and it would say one, yeah, it was just like, want to know more, and it's like, yeah, but it never let you know more. It never like gave you the opportunity to know more.
Propaganda.
Yeah.
You want to know more? Sorry, here's propaganda.
Want to know more? Just more, like, want to know more? Yes. Okay, here's more footage of kids stomping on bugs.
Yeah.
So here's a ridiculous little note I found in IMDb. It says, during like the filming, like on the set, they often were calling Neil Patrick Harris Doogie Himmler because he had that military uniform on.
That's so funny.
I don't know if he liked that.
Maybe that's why he put his hand in front of the mouth. Maybe that was the thing.
Christ.
That's. I mean, I would love to know who the people were who like had the balls to do it. It was probably Verhoeven. He's like, "Hey, Himmler, come here."
Verhoeven's honestly a genius.
Yeah.
I wonder what the other channels were like. Like, did they even have other channels? Because, like, at the time, the only view they could have is like living in 1997. All you had was television channels. I mean, there was like you could go on AOL or whatever, but there wasn't like the internet like we know it today. There wasn't the communication that we know it today. And I wonder, like, they had that perception. I wonder what the other channels were to be perceived, like how they were perceiving and like projecting what was happening with these bugs and stuff.
Yeah, it's like they don't want to give them like actual, like the only recreation of any kind of like entertainment was like that footballist kind of game they're playing.
Yeah.
Right. It's like they don't want to give them any kind of feeling of, I don't know, like normalcy or entertainment, because if they do, then I don't think that I would imagine like their militaristic society would say like that would make you soft.
Yeah. Well, so there was the football and then there was the execution.
Yeah, that's their entertainment. They had a little dance, right? They had a little dance party.
Yeah.
And the kids stomping bugs. That was another. They're like, yay, this is a fun thing we do at recess, is we get a bunch of cockroaches together and stomp them with our Doc Martens that are vintage now.
Would the scene where they're handing kids guns fly if they tried to make that movie today? I wonder.
No.
Yeah. That was this movie was pre-Columbine. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I always say this, and a lot of times when I do movies that are pre 9/11, even it's just like the things you can get away with, or like that they just did before 9/11 was just such a different. You could just do more shit than it. Like this is like a satire of military, whereas after 9/11, it's like, oh, we're just actually going to go kill people for fun because we want to.
They were like, yeah, no bet. Yeah. And then they did it.
Right. Exactly.
And they made a mirror of the nationalistic propaganda to get that rally around the flag mentality to get people on board with Iraq and Afghanistan. It's like kind of nuts how one for one ridiculous and stupid it was whenever you look back at it. Like the whole Freedom Prize thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So apparently, they don't say this in the thing, but apparently the channel that they always were watch was called FedNet. Was that right?
FedNet? Oh, that sounds.
I don't know.
So
like it says it here, like it's apparently in the Blu-ray commentary. Paul Verhoeven wanted to call it FedNet.
Should have gone with it. I don't remember what the news channel is called, but that fits.
Yeah, I'm guessing, he got away with a lot in terms of this. I'm curious what else he would have.
I bet it was like the Federation Network or something like that rings a bell.
Oh, yeah, I think that sounds right. So I think you're right. Yeah. So they didn't really change it. It was kind of
they just said, yeah. I could be wrong. I don't, but that seems like what it was.
Yeah. And it also, because we're talking about how they were shooting a lot. I'm just like going through some of these like facts. It says it was like the most blank rounds ever shot during a movie until this time. 300,000 blank rounds.
Wow. I'm surprised no one got hurt.
Yeah, so there are a few things where it says a couple of the people got
Alec Baldwin was not there. So it was
yeah, thank God, right?
Yeah, we've had 300,000 deaths.
For sure.
It said one of the people who was in it. So Jake Busey apparently like got heat stroke, which doesn't count from. I mean, that's an injury, I guess, but
that's the blonde eyebrows guy, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
He's been. I'm trying to think of what other things I've seen him in from that. I think he was in the movie Contact too. He was like a terrorist in Contact.
The Michael J. Fox movie where he can talk to dead people.
Five Senses or no? Six Senses, right?
No, the Michael J. Fox one that came out in the 90s.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different movie.
I can't think of it.
Screamers, maybe, or
Back to the Future. It was
Back to the Future. where he can talk to dead people, and then
What? I want.
he has a golden retriever, and the golden retriever gets very sick, and then he has to put it down at the end.
Oh,
Very sad.
so
I've never actually seen any of the Back to the Future movies.
oh shit. So here's another.
We're absolutely full of shit, and please don't believe us at all here.
Okay.
Weird.
So another funny.
I should have just let you go along in your life with that clanking around in your head like it was real.
I almost did too. I almost did.
It said something funny. So in the scene early in the movie when they're in the classroom, apparently it had some displays of major philosophers, and one of them was Hannah Arendt, who's who wrote the book on fascism, and also Nietzsche was back there as like the most famous philosophers. So it's interesting that they decided to be like, oh, well, this because Arendt is basically her work was all on totalitarianism, so it seems like a nice little nod.
It's like Verhoeven, what made it such, like, I say that this is, in terms of modern film, the greatest indictment of fascism that I've seen in a movie. And I'd say that with my whole goddamn chest. Like, how every detail was like unscrupulous. Like, everything from the fucking SS bolts on the shoulders to like the eagle iconography to their entire fucking philosophy is like laid out scene by scene in the fucking movie. And it's so like prevalent and in your face that people kind of forget that it's even fucking there and just appreciate the action of the film and like get lost in that and cheer for them, even though they're committing a genocide against a native species, essentially, that they find out is intelligent.
Don't they say the best propaganda is the kind that you don't even notice anymore?
Yeah, no bango.
Well, that's what it got past. Like I was looking at some reviews, I don't know which magazines I saw, and most of the people who didn't like this movie are like, oh, it's too pro-military. So to them, it's like it worked on them, right? It's saying they thought it was a pro-military movie, not even understanding. And that's your job. Your literal job is to review fucking movies. I don't know.
Nepotism.
Nepotism.
Or their inability to see the propaganda anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess those people, if you're a critic, you're probably at that time, you're like a boomer or close to it. So you've been having that shoved down your throats for decades.
You heard about everything Weinstein did and you just didn't talk about it. You want to keep your job.
Yeah. What was I going to mention? I would agree with you. I would say it's probably the best critique of it. And he says it's supposed to be America, even though he's using the most famous fascist, country ever. But other than the symbols, I mean, how much different is it than our fucking country?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's still plenty of eagles in the U.S. military.
Yeah.
Rank structure and everything.
Rich people can have more pull than anybody else.
Well, there's actually I think it's a military building for the United States, but it's shaped like a swastika. I think it's for the Air Force. Yeah, and it's literally shaped like a swastika, just right in front of our faces, and people don't really.
The Pentagon.
Yeah, well, the Pentagon. I think that one's definitely that one never got hit, didn't it? I mean, we're gonna talk about 9/11, the Pentagon. I forgot what I was gonna say about the Pentagon.
I was just full of shit about the Pentagon.
Yeah, everything about it is, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I had anyone have any last Starship Trooper jokes or comments or anything you got.
Well, I think that quote I was talking about earlier, I found it. The teacher tells him, he's like, "Come on, you apes, do you want to live forever?" And I don't know, that one stood out to me too. It's like they're promoting death. You gotta die. I mean, just who really cares? Just die.
Yeah,
I have one note, but I don't really know what it was talking about. But it was gross, right in the fucking eyeball. I don't know what that was for.
Does one of them get like poked?
Yeah,
I think he got shot right in the fucking eyeball, and it reminded me of that Adam Sandler movie where he goes gross right in the fucking eyeball.
Where he's the bodyguard. He has a bodyguard in that one.
Yeah.
Damon Wayans is the what fucking movie was that?
I don't know,
so
but
fucking funny.
gross right in the fucking eyeball has stuck with me my whole life. And
Well, that might have been when the guy gets shot in basic training, I think, right? Because doesn't he get shot?
Maybe,
like, right?
Yes, Hodor, when he got shot in his fucking eye.
Yeah.
So I had that note.
I think so. Like one of the things from the commentary that really stuck with me was Verhoeven said that like if you want to take anything from the movie, it's that war makes fascists of us all. And
yeah.
I thought that like just thinking of that and then thinking about how many people miss the fucking point watching this movie because they're so caught up in like rooting for Rico and like being behind him, like, oh yeah, he lost his family. They don't stop to think that like the asteroid angle makes zero fucking sense. They don't stop to think about any of those fucking things. They just get caught up in the same loop that all the characters in the movie are caught up in. So I thought that was what made it this is one of my favorite movies of all time. So like that's one of the things that makes it that is that it's so engrossing and they set out with a specific goal in mind when they made the film, and I think they knocked it like all the way the fuck out of the park.
Yeah. And it's amazing how like I probably just underlining the point of how like nobody stopped to think about how fucking stupid of an idea that in Iraq they're carrying around weapons of mass destruction in the back of tractor trailers, the same as like how fucking stupid they sent an asteroid to hit Buenos Aires. Like and we all just I mean, I can't say we all did. I didn't. I was like, what I was like 19 and being like, what the fuck? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. How are you all believing this? What is happening? It was like and so for it to actually play out in reality in America at the like a couple years later was like wild, you know. Yeah, or that it did actually happen, you know, like not actually with the bugs and shit, but like how you can draw those lines in reality.
Yeah, I mean, in the commentary too, he mentioned something to the fact of like, can you trust your government when they tell you something? And like, yeah, I mean, it's very prophetic in the sense that, I mean, the U.S. lied about South Korea, Korean war. They lied about all the wars, all the shit they're doing. So it is kind of funny.
Think that it's for real. Like, no, but this time for real, seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Every time.
I mean it this time.
This time we're not lying. We're not lying. Yeah. Well, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else? You mentioned your last thing, Marta, your comment. Do you have anything else?
No. Solid movie though, honestly. Thanks for telling me about it. That's my first time seeing it. Actually, when it was released, I was still floating in my father. But yeah, it's a super solid movie. I think honestly, like one of the best CGIs for sure of its time compared to Star Wars. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that it's probably the spaceships looked a little better than for example like the Death Star or something. But yeah, got nothing to add.
It's funny you said that because apparently in one of the scenes where they're on one of the military bases, you can actually see the model of the Millennium Falcon.
That's funny, actually. What?
I guess they filmed it in the same like lot or whatever. So, but no, I agree. I think the CGI is great. Like there isn't that much. Like a lot of the explosions are all legit. So, yeah, I saw this movie. I guess I'm older. I saw this in the theater. I was like 15, 16.
That's dope. Yeah, I wish I would have seen it in theaters.
And I don't at the time. I just thought like this is an action movie, and that's it. Like I had no illusions about anything.
I remember I was like in 7th grade, and like it was 7th or 8th grade, and my dad must have been like watching it in the living room, and I was like only watched it like by proxy, like walking through, and like I was like obsessed with Gavin Rossdale at the time. Like it was totally outside of my realm of outside of my repertoire. You know, and it's like cool to see it now as an adult and totally what was like, that was like dad shit when I was, you know, when it came out to me.
So I loved Denise Richards as a kid, like Avi. And I don't know, whenever that fucking movie came out, like the CGI was like the big thing. I was so fascinated with that art form because I was like, how do they fucking do that? Because like the computers that I saw were like number munchers and Oregon Trail, you know. So then they're like, oh, we're making this on computers. I'm like, fucking how? How are you doing this? What sorcery is this? So I don't know. I saw that. And
Like the
fascinated
computer
to see
screens
it.
were still like green. at the
Yeah,
time.
I think,
Yeah.
and I actually rented it from Blockbuster as a kid. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
So-
Well, there's still one store left, right?
One
Just
left.
21.
It's the
Damn.
last one.
Yeah.
Should have bought Netflix.
Should have bought Netflix. Exactly, man. Imagine
Yeah,
a world.
Didn't they have like a DVD like mail thing for a little
Yeah.
while?
That's how
I-
Netflix started.
Yeah, that I actually participated in that. I was like, oh, I send away instead of going into an actual lackluster video.
Yeah. I remember when I first joined Netflix, you did the DVDs and it would take like 4 months to watch like a 2-season television show.
Yeah.
Wow. So you'd have to order each season like
You
individually,
get
like
yeah, because you only could get like 2 DVDs at a time, and it'd be
But
like
you
3
could pay
episodes.
more. You could pay more and get 4.
Yeah, I was
We're
like,
outside
I
of
was
the-
my too.
And then
We're
you had
outside
to
of the-
like
oh,
you had to
sorry,
like
go ahead.
you had to like space out like, okay, well I gotta send them in by this date. And if I send them in too soon, then I won't get it back in time. So you had to like plan when you'd watch it so you didn't watch it too fast and run out and then be without like any of your media for a while. This
Yeah.
is anyway,
struggle.
Frankfurters cost a nickel.
So when I was a kid, I worked at a movie gallery, and we're outside of the statute of limitations now. So I could say I stole so much shit from that fucking place. So much shit. Video games, movies, candy. We had fucking video game controllers, porn. I stole DVD porn from that. So much shit. And then they went under like a year later. I like to think that it was me that did that.
Like single-handedly you just taking everything.
I'd let my friends come in and they're like, hey, can you give me a free rental? I'm like, you can fucking take it home. They pay me minimum wage here. I don't give a shit. Just go like that over the metal detector and it's yours.
I was just
Forever.
talking to someone just yesterday about like all the shit that like we would steal from the mall when I was a kid, like 8th grade. Like the kids who had like the really big like pants and they would just go in the dressing room and put like 4 pants underneath it. But yeah, that's sticking it to the fascists right there. But yeah, so I think we've done a good job covering it. But oh hey, Libby and Muerte, thank you for coming on and talking about this.
Thanks
This
for
great
having
action
me.
film.
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah. Anytime.
All right. Well, to those watching live and to those online, you can watch this or listen to this on your platform of choice. Have a good one.